guys, it's Jen from Just Jen Cosplay, and today I'm just going to run through the different parts of armour that I have already made and just talk a little bit about how they are put together. So the first thing I made was a Worbla bracer. So there's loads of tutorials of how to do these online. You literally just get some cling film, cover it with masking tape, draw out where you want it to be, and then you cut it onto craft foam, just, you know, stuff you get from a kid's craft store or something. And then this, I used the sandwich method of Worbla, so it's got a piece of Worbla inside, a piece of Worbla on the outside, and you literally just sandwich the foam together. Easy enough. You then heat it, shape it, and in my case, paint it. Ta-da! Interestingly, because I decided to do these from Worbla, they're much more expensive than some of the other pieces, and because it's a sandwich method, you use twice as much Worbla, and each of these bits is then also on top a piece of Worbla too. These are just leftover bits of Worbla that I heated up, melted together, and made a ring to hold the gem in place, which is literally just something I bought off of Amazon. It's just like glass beads that you might use for making a table arrangement, or in my case, D&D, little minion pieces. I reckon these probably cost about £5 each to make. Obviously there's one for each arm. So they're fairly expensive in comparison to some of the other pieces, which I'll show you next. Let's go, the next piece I made was the breastplate. So here it is. Again, this one is Worbla, again made with the sandwich method, so you've got Worbla inside, Worbla on the outside. Booby cups, using Kamui Cosplay's booby cup tutorial. This probably was, for me, one of the most difficult parts, because you don't really have much play with it. Once they're made, that's it. If you start trying to heat them up too much, then they go all out of shape, and it was quite difficult. Again, this is just pieces of Worbla cut out and heated on, and that's it. This was painted. I have learnt a lot, so as I've been doing it, it had about 5 layers of paint on it, and I've still got quite a thick, or quite a bubbly texture. So one of the things that I have learnt is that I would spend a lot more time sanding, and now that I have a Dremel, that would really help me. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased, considering it's the first, these two things are the first things I've ever made with Worbla. Made it so that it connects, just there's some Velcro on there and some Velcro on the back of that, and it literally just Velcros together like that. And then there's a couple of buckles, which was a bit silly of me, because it basically means that I have to have somebody else to help me into it. I guess we'll see how that goes on the day. But there we go. The next couple of bits I made, so this is the shoulder pads, or pauldrons, whatever you want to call them. So these were made, I've got a bit that sits on here, which I just made out of EVA foam, and then these literally just sit on there with some Velcro. I made the 2 different bits so that there'd be this sort of, well, shoulder movement, and then these are just feathers again. Got them off of Amazon. They were a couple of quid for like 50 of them, so not expensive. Again, you've got another gem with Worbla around it. These, as you can see underneath, are not sandwiched, so it's just one piece of Worbla bent around. So this makes these a lot cheaper. So the sheet of Worbla is about £30, and that for me made both the bracers and the breastplate. And then it was pretty much just offcuts from the rest of that. So this was a second piece of Worbla I used. So again, not cheap. My lovely skulls and spikes, which I have literally just finished painting this morning. So those are made out of air drying clay. I got it from a shop called The Range, which supposedly, if they don't sell it, you don't need it. But yeah, it's only something like £4, and for both of these that I've done this with, I've used less than half of it. So only a couple of quid really for these guys, and I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. I'll try and let you have a little looky. La la. Yeah, so they will just sit on the shoulders like this. It gives me plenty of room to move about, and because they've got that movement in there, which is literally just this is just webbing, black webbing with hot glue gun. Not pretty, but absolutely does the job. Gives me that nice movement. Now onto the EVA foam bits. So this is just really cheap, so you can get, again, off of Amazon is where I bought them from. They're called floor mats, EVA floor mats. They're really thick. I think they're about 20mm thick, a couple of centimetres, near enough. So they have a very sort of stocky appearance whilst they're on, which for some stuff is going to be all right. But I definitely would invest in perhaps some more expensive EVA foam that you can get in sheets from sort of smaller 5 and 10mm ones. Again, so just to give you an idea, they're about yay big, and you can get about 4 of them for £7. So they are super cheap in comparison to the Worbla. Simple as heating them up with a heat gun, bending them, and they've got your shape. And then for me, I used Worbla for the detailing. You can use a thin EVA foam, but I didn't have any, and I didn't want something this thick to sit on top of it. It also means that it looks more like these whilst being a different material underneath. This probably cost £1 to make, really cheap. It's really light in comparison. This one's, you know, despite being technically a smaller piece of armour, is actually a lot heavier. And this is just going to stay on with a piece of elastic hot glue gunned on. Just to give you a little thing, there's tutorial that I'll link to hopefully down in the bottom that I'll show you, which just talks about using on the elastic, using webbing, black webbing, which is what I used for the other bit, and you just sew it on. My really bad piece of sewing there you go. Literally just grabbed out, I've got a sewing machine, so literally just grabbed it off and put that on. That adheres really well when you stick it on with the hot glue gun. You can do it with just the elastic, but the thing with elastic obviously is that it stretches. So over time your hot glue will just fall apart. So it's just a little tip that I got from, I think it was Punisher Props, but I'll link it down in the bottom. There we go. So 2 of them, and then the last couple of pieces of armour is the thigh pieces, which sit on the thigh like that. So this was just 2 bits of EVA foam, one sort of almost square, and this then more angled piece. Cement glue, or contact cement, there you go, that's what it's called, to stick them together like that. So it gives this this layered effect. And again, just Worbla bits all around the edge, which have been painted. There we go. So that's all the main bits. One other piece, before I forget, is the thong. So I literally, instead of making it as an actual thong, which I thought might be quite uncomfortable on the day, I decided to make it effectively a belt. So it's just does up with a couple of plastic buckles and the black webbing that I've already used, hot glue gun together, and it just clips around my waist like that. And there we go, we have effectively a thong-ish device. At least it does the job, or I hope it will. There we go. So that's all the armour pieces. Hopefully it won't be long before I'm able to give you a picture of it all together. Pretty much the only thing I've got left to do is to put the actual elastic onto this so that it will actually sit on my thighs, and then that's all of the armour pieces done. Then I've got to work on the cloak, which is fabric, and I've got to work just on the bottom of the there's some little dangly bits which I've bought some beads for, so I will hopefully be able to get that all sorted next couple of weeks, and then that should be done. Yeah, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that a little bit. If you want to ask any questions about how I made any of it or anything, I'll link to, I said about the booby cups tutorial from Kamui, so I will link to that. Believe it or not, this idea came for me from watching the Syndragosa video that Jessica Nigri put on, and actually, funny enough, this was also the Kamui cosplay tutorial for how to make braces, so I'll pop links to those down in the description. But yeah, if you've got any questions, just ask. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!